Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today. There are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange, shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
He woke up feeling alive. It had been a while since Josh had felt so refreshed. The past couple of months had been a marathon. He felt an unrelenting desire to keep DOPS at the top of its collective game. Seeing the work and the time and the effort and passion that his mentor, Dr. Samuels, had put into it. Now he had taken the baton, felt the weight of it, and wanted to ensure that he took it up to the heights for which he believed it deserved to be seen from. And then he heard it. The bell. His wake up from slumber was not organic. It was the front door bell. It was time to get up. He knew that it was most likely that his wife had forgotten her keys, or they had dropped out of her pocket during her winter walk, both of which had happened multiple times over the past couple of months. She was not a forgetful person, nor was this a sign of advancing age, and the keys seemed to never be at the forefront of her mind before a workout. By the time he got to the front door, it had dawned on him what happened this morning. For the previous 10 seconds, he had forgotten. Maybe it was part of why he was feeling so good. The weight of that moment had escaped him temporarily. But now the revelation and potential breakthrough had raced back into his chest. Was it a breakthrough? Or was it some stroke of pure dumb luck? The lock. Samuel's lock. It was now open, and he had to reckon with how that happened. First things first, open the front door. Mr. Tucker. Police officers, 2 of them. One of them stood 5 foot in front of the other. The silent flashing lights were swirling around his quiet suburban street as a couple onlookers stood in their doorway, concerned. The morbid fascination of your neighbors to see what's going on beyond your windows and picket fences. Police lights were a rarity in these parts. Can I help you, officers? They were taking off their caps. The stature of their uniforms and weapons awarded them seemed to be shrinking in real time. Josh was bracing for the worst. And then he heard it. Your wife, Kathleen. Maybe I'm dead. That seemed to make the most sense. Maybe he had died in his office the night before. If that was true, everything that had occurred afterward would seem impossible. Communication with the dead, his wife of nearly 30 years passing away by the most infuriating of freak accidents. She had slipped on some ice and hit her head on the ground. It had happened on the same walking route she had used for the past 20 years. She loved her neighborhood for many reasons, one of which was how delightful it was to run around during any of the 4 seasons. This route had been her main source of exercise ever since they moved there, decades ago. Once they started having kids. As she got older and her joints grew weaker, running turned to walking. But the rush of the running route remained. There must be some mistake. That was his response to the news, that his wife had passed away. Because of a tragically stupid freak accident that did not and would never make any sense. Now he's identifying the body. The body which had been found lying on the icy suburban road by a neighbor 3 streets over. The neighbor, Maya, called the ambulance right away. Maya knew Kathleen. Most of the households within a 6-street radius knew Kathleen. She was active in the community, friendly but fierce when the time called for it, like when the mayor wanted to get rid of the local park so they could build a new bank. Kathleen led the charge to shut that down. She galvanized the neighbors, turned them into troops, and made a name for herself amongst the community. Make someone feel like they're not alone and they'll follow you anywhere. Josh can remember Kathleen telling him that, after he questioned whether or not she'd be able to get enough votes to make the mayor back off, since money tends to override anything. But she made every signature feel like a person, as if they were all in this together, all for one, one for all. That's how Josh felt when he was with her. He never felt alone. He had friends who had gotten divorced, friends who had never gotten married. Even when they didn't tell him, he could feel their loneliness. It terrified him, that feeling of being truly alone in the world. By the time the EMT arrived, it was too late. The police suspected that she had tried to hop down from a sidewalk onto the main road, slipped, and hit her head. It seemed to be a safe guess, although nobody will ever know for sure. Only Kathleen will know, and she was gone. Forever. Now Josh is standing inside of the morgue at the hospital identifying her body. That's her? He said it as a question, as if maybe that would keep her alive for just a little bit longer. Or perhaps the medical examiner would reveal that, in fact, that was not his wife. This was some horrific, elaborate prank to make him appreciate his life more. He was the new Scrooge. This seemed more plausible than the idea that Kathleen had died. These are the scattered, morbid thoughts crisscrossing around his fried brain right now. Nothing makes sense. The harder that Josh tried to make sense of it, the less he can make of it. There was a process to death. Josh had to sign a form acknowledging that he identified the body. Police had to rule out other causes of death, including homicide. This meant the body was kept in holding for 2 days. The 2 longest, most excruciating, heartfelt, painful deaths of Josh's life. He made phone calls. His family made phone calls. His kids made phone calls. There was nothing to solve yet, they had to be diligent. Ultimately, it was deemed to be an accident. She slipped. Case closed. He remembers when he told her, how he told her, where he told her, what he told her. I want to quit my job. She looked at him with her perfect green eyes. Good. Can we get pizza tonight? That was Kathleen's reaction to her husband telling her that he was about to quit a job that was making the family a lot of money so he can go work for a rogue new research team that was trying to prove reincarnation. It was 1996. She was on the couch, wearing a light blue UNC Tar Heel sweatshirt that he had bought her for her birthday, to wear during her winter runs. You're okay with that? He was sitting on the couch rubbing her feet, mostly out of fear, partly out of love. If I say no, will you stop rubbing my feet? He told her that if she wanted him to reconsider, he would, because this was as much of their decision as it was his. She said it was his decision, and he would support whatever he wanted to do. But if she had a vote, she would cast it for him to quit his real estate job and start doing the thing that made him try and hold in a smile when he walked into a room. She held his hand. Joshy, I can feel your happiness. Don't ever hold that in. Follow your heart. Nobody else called him Joshy, except for Kathleen. When she said it was as if the best form of himself would take over his body and he would transform into whatever aspirational version of the man he hoped to be. He quit his real estate job 5 minutes later. It was the best phone call of his life, until one 9 months later that said his wife was pregnant. That was then. Now, the death certificate was being issued. Josh arranged for the body to be transferred to a funeral home. He was given her personal belongings, her clothes, headphones, and iPod. Yes, she still used an iPod. She always hated cell phones. Technology in general was the bane of her previous existence. Next on the agenda was arranging a funeral. When they lowered her casket into the ground, one thought kept popping into his head over and over and over again. Maybe I'm dead. His job never felt like a job. Until today. When your work revolves around death and whether life continues after it, there are no answers. Which means that every day is part of the same infinite string that you never stop pulling from. There is no clocking in or clocking out. You simply exist, digging until you come out of the other side and find yourself all over again. That's where Josh was now, at work. He had been working at Dobbs for almost 30 years, and today felt like his first day. I got a new case." Josh looked up. Standing in his doorway was Courtney. She was his protege in the same way that he was the protege of Dr. Samuels. For the past 2 weeks, all anyone had done was ask how he was doing and sending condolences. He had been desperately waiting for someone to say anything else. But he understood why they couldn't. He hated that he wanted the distraction. Something to even for just a moment make him forget about her. But it was true. He wanted a second to catch his breath. His heart hurt so much that he was starting to wonder how many breaths he had left. If the answer was limited, he was okay with that, because it meant that he might be able to reconnect with the love of his life. Could she be the love of his death too? "New haircut?" That's what he said to her. She said it was, a little shorter than normal, a little blonder than normal. A recent breakup had spurned her into trying something new. "It looks nice, Courtney." He's not sure how he didn't break down when he said it, but he's thankful to whoever might be in charge of things like crying and why we do things we do, for not having him cry like a little child in front of his protege. Especially since she just got a really nice new haircut. "Tell me about the case." She moved towards his desk with a fresh manila envelope under her armpit. Whatever energy he was rightfully lacking, she seemed to be more than making up for. It was evident to Josh immediately that she had been waiting to have this meeting for some time. She had been saving this new information for him and only him. It was their version of a runner's high, that new manila folder, with new potential puzzle pieces. Her name is Olive. She just turned 3. Her mom, Kristen, says that Olive started freaking out one day, randomly screaming that she had to get back to her family. Kristen was trying to console her, asking her questions. She had never seen her daughter act like this. Olive had always been really sweet, easygoing. Olive starts telling her mom a story about her son being killed, murdered. And then she quickly launches onto this story about a man dressed in all black who grabbed her arm and refused to let her go. She's acting all of this out, like a little one-woman play. Kristen is watching all of this. She's trying not to cry because she doesn't know what to do, how to make it better. And Olive just keeps ranting about this man killing her son and refusing to let go of her arm. Josh was enraptured into the story of this mysterious little girl. He held his chin onto the palm of his hand as he leaned forward around the side of the desk. How long was Olive distraught? Courtney stood up and set the manila folder down in front of Josh, opened it, and then sat back down to continue telling the details of the case. 20 minutes. 20 minutes of freaking out, and that's it. She just stops. And it's like it never happened, never brought that up again. Doesn't even remember saying it to her mom. Josh was scanning the notes inside Courtney's folder, trying to quickly assimilate the avalanche of intel that was being thrown on top of him. Does this connect to the family history at all? What did the mom say about Olive's story? Courtney was shaking her head, perplexed. The mom is at a total loss, so is the father. Neither one of them has any idea where she got this story from, and that was 2 weeks ago. Since then, not a word about it. The mom says it's like Olive became someone else for 20 minutes. Have you ever heard of anything like that? This had become a recent fascination of Josh's. Growing consensus from literature on the very early memory development is that from the earliest days of life, infants can encode, store, and retrieve a great deal of information about events in the world that they experience, and that they retain this information over a considerable time period. A researcher who worked with Dr. Samuels before Josh joined them, named Grayson. He hypothesized that babies can retain memories that were created before they were born, for at least 2 days after birth. This would seem like blasphemy to any normal, rational person. How could you prove memories of a child that early on? Josh met Grayson's claim with skepticism, as everyone else had. Dr. Samuels told Josh what he told everyone when their reaction was closed, rather than open. It was the story of Ignaz Semmelweis. He was an obstetrician in the 1800s who died in a mental institution at the age of 47 after he was vilified for producing data that showed death rates during childbirth dropped significantly if doctors washed their hands before examining patients. Imagine that. A doctor being sent away for promoting clean hands while delivering babies. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are we doing right now that will seem crazy in 200 years? That stuck with Josh. Not just at work, but in life. What would seem crazy in the future that seems sane now? What will seem sane now that would appear crazy in the future? It was a great sell to keep an open mind. Always. Grayson, whom he had never met, was now fully alive inside of his mind. Perhaps this was a case that could justify his claims. On face value, there was nothing to suggest that Olive was pulling from something she herself had learned about. At least not in her lifetime. Courtney was emphatic in her summation of the Olive case. How do you think we should proceed with this one? I can't get it out of my head. The idea that this sweet little girl became someone else for 20 minutes and then faded back into her body? Josh was leaning out of his chair, one leg crossed over the other, as he scratched the bottom of his chin. This was his standard operating face of contemplation. He closed the folder and then looked up at Courtney. How far away is Waynesville? And just like that, Courtney and Josh were in the car, ready to drive 3 hours to Waynesville, North Carolina, to see a 3-year-old girl named Olive. As Courtney started her engine, Josh put his hand on the steering wheel. "What's wrong?" she asked. He took his hand off the wheel and leaned back into the passenger side seat. "I need to make a phone call first." "Phone call? To who?" Courtney asked. Josh took a second, and then he asked her. "Did Dr. Samuels ever tell you what happened to Grayson?"
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today. There are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange, shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.